Okay, 5.NF.7. This is a big standard for fractions because it asks you to do two very specific things. They can get a little confusing if you let it, but I'm going to try and burn through this pretty quickly to compare the two different tasks being asked to do. You're first going to divide unit fractions by whole numbers. That's the first thing you have to do. A unit fraction is any fraction in which you are dealing with just one piece. This is a unit fraction. This is a unit fraction. This is a unit fraction. 1 out of 256 pieces. That's a unit fraction, all right? But you're going to divide unit fractions by whole numbers. The second thing you're going to be asked to do is to divide whole numbers by unit fractions. You got to be able to do it the other way around. So 1/3 divided by 2, you also have to be able to do 2 divided by 1/3. Okay? So now let's take a look at something very simple. First, let's just look at basic whole number division. If you have 3 pies and you divide it by 12 people, what you're doing is you're taking 3 whole somethings and cutting them up into fractions. So nobody's actually going to get a whole pie. You have too many people. So if you show the long division version of 3 divided by 12, it shows that you're going to get 0.25. That's like 25 cents. That's 1 out of 4 quarters. That's a fourth. Well, if you look at the fraction, 3/12, you can see that 3/12 simplified is going to get you 1/4. So there's lots of ways to do this, but what I need you to understand is that if you have 3 whole pieces of something, 1 whole, 2 whole, 3 holes, and the 3 holes are being divided by 12 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, how big are those pieces going to be? 3 holes divided by 12, well, they're going to be, each hole is going to have to be broken into 4 pieces, which means each person is going to, you're creating 1/4 sized pieces. So each of those people, they're going to get 1/4 of a pie, or whatever it is that you're breaking up into fourths. So the idea, the concept is not too complicated. All right, 3 divided by 1/4 is 12. It's the same as 3 divided by 12 equals 1/4. The concept of fact families. It works with fractions. 3 wholes divided by 1/4 sized pieces creates 12 pieces. All right? So again, dividing a whole number by a fraction is one of the things that we need to know how to do. The other one has to do with taking a fraction and dividing by a whole number. Now for here, what I have to make sure is you get this visual here. The 3 whole pieces that we broke into 12 pieces, the 3 whole pieces, the whole pies, that was divided by 12 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and we ended up with just 1/4 of 1 whole. Let's look at that 1/4 and say what happens if 1/4 is divided by 3. All right, see this 1/4 here? That's 1/4, see that, of 1 whole. And what I've done is I've shown how you can divide that 1/4 of 1 whole into 3 pieces. Yeah? But by doing that, you're actually breaking the whole pie up. You're actually breaking the whole candy bar up. You're actually breaking the whole thing up when you break the 1/4 into 3 pieces. Cool? And what you end up with is only that one piece, 1/4 divided by 3, you're going to end up with these sized pieces, which is not 1/3, because you're dealing with 1/4 of a whole. And so you're not just affecting the fraction. That fraction only existed because it was part of the whole. So now you break that up, and so now dividing it by 3, you're actually making that smaller. So 1/4 is now going to be 1 out of what would have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1 out of 12 pieces. That's the size of that piece now, because you took 1/4 and divided it by 3. It got smaller, and now it's 1/12 of the whole. And so what's highlighted here in green is a little math trick, that anytime you divide by a number, you can rewrite it quickly as a multiplication of that number written as a fraction flipped. Okay? Now, I'm not going to get into flipping the reciprocal. I'm just going to say that this is a cool little trick. If you're dividing by a number, you can write it as a fraction and just multiply that fraction flipped, and it'll get you the answer you're looking for. So that's a fun little rule, it's a fun little trick, but you need to understand why 1/4 being divided by a whole number is going to end up being a much smaller sized piece. And those are the two things you need to know how to do for 5.NF.7.